YouTube friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I am Mommy Milestones. I am here to show you how to do another DIY appliance repair. So today I am working on my stovetop. So here I have a Kenmore stove and oven combination. Kenmore is made by Whirlpool, and you can get most of your parts readily available online. I like to use appliancepartspros.com. You can get them on eBay. The key thing is knowing your model number. Now on this particular stove, there is a label down here on the side where I have my utility drawer underneath. So I've pulled that out just to show you that and to make sure that the unit is unplugged. Do not do any appliance repairs ever without first unplugging the unit or hitting the power switch in the basement to make sure that there is no power going to your outlet. Our stove is plug-in, it is not hardwired, so let me show you that. So right here is my 220 volt outlet. If you're hardwired, you have to hit the breaker in the basement. I'm able to just reach in here to unplug that. If you're not able to access it by pulling out your drawer, you can pull the stove out away from the wall. Obviously, this is a very good time to go ahead and clean under your oven. Boilovers can happen, and last season I had a bad boilover and some maple syrup got caught on this and it just was gummed up. Kind of like this one back here. It can use some cleaning with a wire brush. Not totally necessary. Now, I can't replace just this block. You have to replace the wires going into the block, and what I have picked up is a universal block replacement. Now sometimes the brackets aren't as universal and sometimes they come with two brackets depending on your model of stove. So the first thing you're going to do is there is some small Phillips screw holding your bracket in place. Just go ahead and remove that. Now before I snip that, I want to make sure that my product is correct, just to make sure that I can use my stove for dinner tonight if it's incorrect. Because you can't have cut wires sitting there. So we are back at the stove repair. If you don't know how to do this, you need to know how to do this just for the sake of cleaning your stove. To remove your burners, you just slide them out so that you can clean your pans. These drip pan sets are about $6 to $13 depending on where you go. And you want to make sure that you have the same design as your original. Some have an open ring here and some have a closed ring. So you can see I have a exact match. I picked these up at Menards for about $6 and I can swap that right out and have a nice looking new burner pan, which is really great if you are doing rental properties, having family and guests over, or if you are doing a sale of your home. You want to make sure that your stove is clean because it really does make a big difference with buyers. So we're going to go ahead and swap all these out. We have about a year's use out of these. They're just made of cheap chrome. You can recycle those right into your metals and cans for curbside recycling. And just like that, your stove looks so much better. Now on this burner, I've got a few more issues going on. I've lost my support ring that holds this up in the pan, so I couldn't get a replacement for it, and I didn't have a way to tack weld it. So I picked up a replacement burner. I was able to also get this at Menards, much cheaper than I was able to get it online. This is a 4-year-old Kenmore stove from Sears, and we paid about $450 for it. It's at the age now that things start to happen to it, but I can do these simple repairs on my own without upgrading. So the replacement burner has a much more heavy duty bracket, which is really good for heavy pots and pans. We do a lot of kitchen canning and food processing here, so this is really important for me to have, especially on this front burner. So this one's going to just come right out. Now, the main repair that we're doing today is our receptacle that this plugs into. So I've already gone ahead and taken my screw out one other time. I had actually picked up a universal replacement part at Menards, and it was actually not so universal. It did not fit my stove. So to clean inside of your stove, this just lifts up, and these supports will lock into place for you. Now, if you have any cleaning and scrubbing, this is the time to do it. Also, from this point on, anything that you do to the stove, you're going to want the power off. So, I've already unplugged it. I was able to access my plug from underneath the stove just by pulling out the pots and pans drawer underneath. So you can see here, this burner receptacle is actually melted. We had a small little fire in the burner liner. I have a 12-year-old son that is learning how to cook, and he did not realize that if you get food particles down there that they can catch fire. He also frequently gets oil and things like that on his pans. So he's having a little further work on that. Now this got gummed up with spills, and it just slowly melted and deteriorated. It's not safe. It's a fire hazard. I could call an appliance repair guy. You know, that adds up fast. Their service call is about like $35 for 15 minutes. They pretty much charge a minimum of a half an hour for any repairs. So then you're up to $70 plus parts. So you're looking at right now about $100 for this little repair. So I was actually able to get my universal part right here off of eBay, and it was about $6. They've already done the trim work for me to strip the wires. They've also included 2 wire nuts to splice it together. I've got my own wire cutters or snippers to snip this line. 2 heat shrinks. This goes right over your wire before you twist the 2 together, and then you can just use a match or a lighter. You might even be able to use a hairdryer to shrink this down tight. If you don't have this with your kit, you can also use electrical tape. That is just fine to do. It's just to cover up. It's just to cover up your wire connection. So they also give you a choice of 2 brackets. You want to choose the bracket that is the same as your original. So on my original, it's got this little lip here to catch on the top of the burner liner. So this is our match. The other one just butts up against it straight. So we can just discard that. The block receptacle just snaps in place on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and mount this with my original screw just to make sure that I don't cut my wires too short or too long. And if you're replacing your burner, you want to make sure that your burner replacement, that the receptacles, the electrical connectors are going to fit. My original did not fit properly. So I took it back to Menards, I took it back no problem, and now this is all in here. Now remember, your power has to be off before you cut this, and you can't cut this ahead of time and then use your stove without capping it. This has to be done today to be able to use the stove later on. We would have to bypass this burner. So, power's off. This is your cutter end here. If you don't have these, don't worry, you can just use scissors, but these also have built-in wire strippers for stripping the end of your wire for your connection. And just like that, I've got my stove all replaced and back in order. So plug it in, give her a test. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Remember, save money, be frugal, and do your own home repairs.